There you go.
Where it's being recorded, I don't know.
Are we ready then?
Usually,
Kind of?
yeah, that recording just either where it ends up being hosted. Is it hosted on the cloud or is it hosted?
I believe it's hosted on.
But on whatever, on your physical computer. I don't know that that's.
I don't
Figure
know.
that part out later, this recording.
We can upload it.
Okay.
Next, are these things recording?
Yeah, there's a.
Not that I want to take a nap, but.
But
you do.
one on
All
the
right,
side.
everyone, it's 8:31 and it's finally June and we're here minus masks. Nice to see everyone's smiling faces back in these chambers. And we have some summer activities ahead of us, so let's dive in first with our roll call.
Kathy Braden,
Here,
Matt Viera. Hey, Matt,
Here,
Josh Baker, and Jody Eubank,
Here.
Nikki Law,
here.
Anna Mulder, here. Brian Devine,
here.
Amy Giller, here. Keely Knapp.
Okay. Will we be losing Keely shortly?
No, she is a junior.
Oh, yay, we get 2 years with somebody awesome.
Hopefully
Good for you, you got one more year.
Hopefully
Jim,
the
I
schedule's
don't-
more conducive next year. I know she's super busy right now with finals and whatnot.
Great. Okay, let's dive into our agenda. The first item would be approval of the minutes from our May 6th meeting. Yeah, I've seen those. Any corrections or changes?
Need a motion?
Thank you. May I have a support? Second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. Let's move into public comment. And with no comments coming in, we can do this again later as well. Let's move next to our semi-annual public information meeting, our TIP formatting meeting. This is always helpful to me every time we do this to remember how we are funded and what our obligations are. So while we don't have our funding partners here, well, the city's here, which is our biggest one at the moment. And then the college and cemetery, they can see this later by video. I got a really sweet note yesterday from Dave Finley on selling our building, which was nice.
Great.
To a lawyer.
To another lawyer.
Really? We're bummed. We'd already started the process of trying to figure out how to do it, so.
Happened so fast.
Well, good. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. This is our first informational public meeting for the 2021 year. Welcome. The Harbor Springs, history, a little bit of history of the Harbor Springs DDA. The Harbor Springs Downtown Development Authority was created in 2012 by ordinance number 180 of the Harbor Springs City Council and said ordinance and the Downtown Development Authority Act, being Act number 197 of the Public Act of 1975. As amended, the act shall constitute the charter of the authority. The principal shopping district was established by the City Council Resolution 8107 in 2012 under the Principal Shopping Act, being Act number 120 of the Public Act of 1961. Harbor Springs DDA developed a taxable increment financing plan in 2015, which ran through 2017. The TIP plan was then renewed for 2018 to 2022. A TIP development plan describes the cost, location, resources, and implementation of the public improvements that are projected to take place in the DDA district. The purpose of the Downtown Development Authority and PSD is to analyze the impact of economic changes and growth in the defined central business district of the city of Harbor Springs, and to develop plans in coordination with the City Council and Planning Commission, the DDA, PSD, to address problems of economic decline, strengthen existing areas, and encourage new private development in the downtown district of our community. They seek to accomplish this goal by providing the community with the necessary legal, monetary, and organizational schools revitalize the downtown district either through public initiated project undertakings or in concert with privately motivated development projects. Most of you are familiar with all of this. We don't have.
It's still a good reminder.
Okay, what options do we have, financing options for DDA? The first option is tax increment financing. A community can capture property taxes which would have otherwise been paid to entities such as community college and county. We have the option of levying a millage, up to 2 mills to municipalities with populations of less than 1 million, up to 1 mill for municipalities with populations over 1 million. We can assess a special assessment, revenue bonds, revenues from property owned or leased by the DDA, donations and grants to the authority, and contributions to the local unit of government. What does the Harbor Springs DDA revenue sources look like? Our revenue is comprised of special assessment of $45,900 a year, along with our tip capture, which is expected for 2021 to be $41,700. Our taxing authorities include Harbor Springs City, North Central Michigan College, and Lakeview Cemetery, and is derived from taxable incremental financing. This does not include the expected county tip capture. We also have an income for 2021 of $8,500 from events. There it is on our ledger. You can see in the budgeted line that it says $200,200, and that is because of the general fund budget allotment that was there for the Main Street Streetscape project that will be amended. That will be amended to 0 at the 2021 budget hearing. So how do we compare in total revenue to our neighboring cities? So we looked at Charlevoix, Wayne City, East Jordan, St. Ignace as local neighbors and what they bring in through their both through their tip capture and also through their total revenue. Charlevoix at $574,630 with a tip capture of $417,460. Wayne City is total revenue is $387,469. Their total tip capture is $292,263. East Jordan's total revenue is $240,348, while their tip capture is $63,440. St. Ignace's total revenue is made up from their tip capture, which is $206,013. And as you can see, Harbor Springs comes in much lower with $100,200, and of course our tip capture only being $41,000 because newly established DDA. Assuming no questions at the end. Yeah. So that's just kind of layout in comparison to our neighbors of what we look like with our revenue. In 2018 and 2022, the DDA developed a TIF plan with proposed enhancements. At this point, this is where we stand on those. The phase 2 and 3 of the wayfinding system that the DDA completed in 2019. The downtown directories have all been updated. The kiosks into this spring in 2021. Waterfront beautification project will be implemented that addresses waterfront aesthetics, public waterfront aspects, and facilities for recreation. We assisted in that in progress raising grants and funds from 2020 for Marina Park, the picnic tables, and we continue to assist in the city with the city planning for the Marina Park landscaping area in 2021. Third item on the plan was an existing and vacant lot owned by the city of Harbor Springs located near the intersection of 3rd Street and Spring Street to be developed with 20 to 25 spaces. That has been completed. We looked exhaustively into creating that to be a revenue generating parking lot, but that did not come to take place this year. The fourth item on our list is the Merchants Walkway, which we are looking into. to further improvements, enhancements, maintenance, and repair of the brick pavers to make that usable space once again. We also have downtown holiday lighting on our list to be completed, and that was completed on Third Street for 2018. We do have more trees that are set to be installed on Third Street, and that lighting will be added once those are installed. We have looked at downtown street lighting for Main Street, and it is in progress, still on fact finding and needs assessment with that project. We also have on our plan to provide administrative services for the downtown development authority, updating plans, administrative assistance to the DDA board, committees, and the city and the Harbor Springs staff. In addition, the DDA administrator will be responsible for working with the board and the city of Harbor Springs to implement DDA projects, and that's ongoing and continuing. Also on the plan was a study of the existing parking system and policy for the future needs of the downtown area that's currently on hold, as well as develop a plan for downtown promotional events and marketing, working with relevant entities, which is something that we have been ongoing and doing a great job working with the chamber, and also creating our own winter ice festival, which has been very successful. Another item on the list of the TIP plan was implement a business recruitment and retention program. That's still in development. Also to develop and implement a downtown enhancement grant program. This grant will provide assistance to businesses and property owners within the DDA boundaries that wish to make improvements or enhancements. We did receive a grant from the Petoskey Harbor Springs Area Community Foundation in 2020. We were able to offer that to local businesses. We've also looked at offering our own grants for if to improve the merchant walkway for businesses to improve their alleys and their back areas. And I think the final item on the 2018-2022 TIP plan was to provide additional snow removal and management for the downtown by contacting for services as needed, and that is also on. Harbor Springs DDA future projects. Our main focus right now is the Merchants Walkway. As you can see, it's in a bit of state of disrepair, and we are looking at getting quotes to repair the brickwork and the fountain, and possibly install signage to make it a public and known usable space. What else have we done here? The current projects that we've worked on. We've spent a lot of effort on the Main Street trees, developing a plan to create a new streetscape with tree grades. That did not come to pass. So in its place, we worked with the National Honor Society and did a Main Street tree garden planting. It's really successful.
They're already looking good. Didn't take long.
We also, even in the midst of COVID, we were able to hold our 2021 Harbor Springs Ice Fest, which was well attended, and with I think it was over 40 ice sculptures throughout town for the community to enjoy. Also very successful. We continue to promote on through website, television, social media, the downtown businesses, their events, and other activities. We're also continuing to work and assist with the city of Harbor Springs Marina Park and developing a plan for that, and offering downtown input for our most used park. So that's where we are in 2021, and how we've been using our funds and what our plans are going forward.
That's a great report.
Thank you.
Really, and I would love it. Maybe send it to the rest of the board.
Yes, would you just like email us? That'd be
Yeah.
great.
It's very helpful to those who don't understand plans, TIF, our funding. This is great.
Yeah, it looks really good. Are you gonna, you said you're gonna email that out to us?
Yes, I will.
Great.
Yes, specific question. What caught my eye, if we could go back to that slide about where the other communities in the areas funds come from. What caught my eye, most of them, it seemed like a lot of it was from TIP, but what about East Jordan? It seemed like very little of their money comes from TIP, so where do they get it from? I doubt they have. So
There's, I would have to go back to the file. They get a subsidy, I believe.
Yeah, there's something a little different about theirs. It comes from like radio tower income or something where they have leased land. It's something very obscure that I never even heard of until we looked at that. I can
Oh,
find
wow.
out exactly where it comes from, but, and then the rest of theirs probably comes from the city.
Other questions?
Wouldn't that also be determined by who is in the district?
Funding partners. Oh, as far as TIF, yes.
I mean, when you come in, like Charlevoix, when you come into Charlevoix, all those houses right there, I mean, Harbor Point is not in our district. But I would think all those houses on Charlevoix would be in the district.
As far as taxes,
Yeah.
possibly.
It
I don't
depends
know.
on the legal limits of their actual DDA.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're a lot closer than Harbor Point. I mean,
Right. Yeah, Harbor
They're-
Point's actually in the township.
yeah,
For our special assessment, we did just our choice. We did not attach that to residences in CBD, just the businesses.
I think that's something as we sunset in 2022. Definitely, we really need to spend some time talking about what direction we're going to go with assessment or mill.
So what happens next for us? This is 21 and 20. This runs through 22. So shortly, like beginning fall, early winter, we need to be working on the next plan. The funding proposal that we try to create our budget is based around the plan that we write. And as you can see by this plan, we have done quite well in ticking off the things that we thought 4 years ago we would be diving into. So now we go bigger in my mind. I'm not going to be here next year, folks, but I don't want a 5-year plan again because it is too short. And we're probably the only one in the state that has one under maybe 15 years. So we should look at most of them are 25 years. Traverse City just did a 25-year plan. So I think we need to go bigger.
Wow.
We have proven ourselves. By that time, we'll have gotten 8 years behind us since we woke back up. And let's think what we can accomplish in a 10 or 15-year span. Yes, those things can be adapted along the way. Yes, we can always go into projects that they're not in our plan if we find funding paths for them, such as the tree grates, not in our plan. We could have directed our efforts there working with council. There are ways for us to work outside the plan. As long as our budget is primarily TIF, we need to stay within the plan. But we've got huge leeway for a 10 or 15-year plan. Writing that plan will take us many months. So and then we have to start presenting, I believe, next summer-ish to our partners. And possibly by then, hopefully sooner than then, we'll have a response back to the Attorney General and the county.
No.
It's been 6 months, which is about normal. And it's not like they haven't been busy with some other things. I'm sure we're not hot.
Kathy, do you know whose terms are coming up? That's another-
Yeah, it's on the city website. I know mine does. There should be 3 of us. I'll look it up. I know that mine does, and given that I'm not going to be downtown, I will definitely be coming off.
You're a chip and a putt from downtown.
I know. So I can transition to any committee, but I will not be sitting at this table. Okay,
You'll have so much time. What?
I'm not going to disappear. I'm just not gonna have to come downtown every day. Okay. Now that we have proceeded through that, thank you, Margot. Will we do this again in about what, 6 months?
In October.
Okay. And again, this is by law that we must do this. This is not something we do to make Margot spend time, but because if we take these taxing dollars for our use, we must show how we use them. So let's move into our promotions report.
Everybody else.
Real quick on that presentation. So I've had a few people, downtown business owners, like come to me and ask me what the DDA does and what is their dollar a day going towards and whatnot. That was a great presentation, Margot. It went through a lot of stuff that we are doing. Whether they agree with it or not is a different story. But I mean, have we thought about, yes, they have the ability to zoom in on this or watch this, but there's a lot of them that don't. Would that be something that we should like email out to our downtown businesses?
I have a related question.
Oh, I think some maybe, I don't know, some scaled back version possibly or something.
Yes.
Yes, the scale back version of what we've accomplished and
That's a good idea.
it's just same way when they do an annual report. I'm not saying send an entire, all the detail, but there are businesses that's the one thing they keep coming to me. I'm like, you know what? It gets frustrating to answer the same questions and try to explain to a person. If your downtown doesn't continue to look nice, like those pictures of the walkway, that's a prime example. That looks really bad. A lot of people can't, well, the walkway doesn't need anything, everything's fine. Well, you and I both know that everything's not fine. I mean, yes, Harbor Springs is a place where I want to live the rest of my life, and I think it's beautiful, but there's always room for improvement. It's those people that maybe don't like change or maybe don't see it. And that presentation you gave made me want to really get behind that project, or figure out, hey, if that looks better, then maybe my dollar a day is going to something that will bring more traffic downtown. And then the grant program, I'm sure have talked about it. I don't know much about that grant program. Is that something that the current businesses that are trying to improve their business has an opportunity to put in for or apply for funding to help them with their renovation?
Well, if not in our budget,
Not something we have fully developed. It's something I think we're diving into, looking at some of the grants that are out there that we as a DDA can access and then share with some of the businesses as we move forward.
Okay, but we did receive a grant for it, correct?
no, we got the grant last year for the COVID equipment from the community foundation.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay, so I was confused. I thought there was a grant out that said, like, if you make beautifications, you can apply for X amount of dollars from the DDA because of a grant. Okay, I'm on the same page now. Thanks for clarifying that. So just a couple thoughts I had.
There are a lot of MEDC like facade grants for preservation and restoration of buildings. It is something that we need to, as a board, decide whether that's something we really want to, we want to pursue to offer, to try and offer to our businesses, which I think is a great idea.
Yeah. It's great.
And particularly as we dive into the merchant walkway, that could be very helpful.
And that is what Charlevoix is doing right now, that they're offering a grant to their businesses to improve their alleyways. Up to $5,000, I think, each.
Marco, what's the most amount we can have on the board? Most
We're
amount of
at.
people.
We're it.
You count Matt Bagheera
Yes.
and you count. Okay,
I believe when I was coming on, that's why there was some shifting around of some people.
Yeah, we, in our bylaws, we've done it. We're at it.
I was just gonna throw out for the future that we add if we can, I don't know if it's in the bylaws, that we add a community member that's not affiliated with business.
Well, and essentially that's Dana.
Maybe second would be nice.
The way the state law is written on structure,
You have a business though.
Not having a brick and mortar,
not brick and mortar.
that down there.
And prior to that, we had Mary Ellen. So if the district exceeds, I believe, 100 residents, we are mandated to have a CBD resident within, on this. We don't have that. But we've always tried to have a presence by someone who lives here versus just works here.
You know who lives downtown and
Oh, yeah, he does. Although in my theory, with my departure, I do hope you guys go younger. I'm currently the oldest one at the table. And when I leave, don't replace me with someone older, please. Let's shake it up. Let's get
Older than
this
you?
generation in
That would
line.
be tough.
Margo, I had just a couple other thoughts about publicity for us, good positive publicity. I think we sometimes get a bad rap. Has there ever been any thought of offering an annual meeting for members just to give them an update on what we're doing?
We just basically did that. That's what the public hearings are.
Okay.
And we had talked about in the past of having like a meeting, whether it's biannually or something like that I don't know, I think we might have done it in the past, and I don't know, I think part of the problem was so few people attend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and we had talked about too, one thing that we did was at, Brewfest and at Ice Fest was to make sure that members, our board members were at the stations to talk about what we were doing. And I think that helps when they see, instead of, maybe coming to a meeting, but being at an event or seeing something. There was a lot of really great publicity with the planting. I saw a ton of that. People were sharing it. So I think that's the best way to kind of get out there because they know they associate that with what the DDA did. So that's.
I just wonder for future years though, if they should get a specific invitation in the mail or email invitation. This says public information.
Well,
So
we
to
did
me,
that, we
public
did
says-
this in 2010 or 11 before the DDA came out of dormancy. We had a placemaking meeting here, do you remember that, Kathy? And the only way we got people there was that I did free appetizers.
Yeah.
And we packed the place. And
Maybe we should do it again. That was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I would be happy to do it, but I'm not till like November.
One of the,
No.
It might be interesting too, to look at something in partnership like with the chamber and
yeah, we talked about that before
yeah,
COVID.
having one community meeting where
Yes.
everybody gets, not every organization, but the hosting organizations have a chance to talk about what they're doing. Because certainly what we're doing doesn't impact every single business, but it impacts the community. So it's kind of a big,
Kind of like the state of the community.
Yeah, the chamber does kind of something like
it does,
that.
but it doesn't seem like that's,
Yeah,
doesn't get as much. I mean, DDA doesn't always have a key role in that. I mean, don't they?
I think they get confused, like, let's say the outfitter
Yeah,
was not a chamber member. Then they're really covered by the DDA when you think about it, as far as, I mean, we should be
Yes.
covering them in the CBD.
Let's talk about it.
And-
one of the pluses to this community, from my perspective, is there are so many of us organizationally who do things that it's spread out. It does spread the work base out, but it also confuses those who aren't attuned to all of the details. I just went through this with the city council on the fireworks. They were completely confused as to who paid for them and how that event took place, and that was the Chamber Foundation's fault for not better explaining what we do. The same thing with DDA, you know, it's and with the Chamber. Bonnie gets the same question, why Chamber over DDA? Good questions, we're all doing good things.
And it's education, yeah.
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 Just do a DDA get together.
Or it's just, you can never, it could, if it's an email invitation, it's, how can that be bad?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
that's the focus of October, is say, hey, this is a little busier time. The October date may be a little bit easier.
Yeah.
for people.
Yeah.
Come join me, I'd love to tell you.
Yeah, we're blessed.
Some people don't care, but it's the ones that, and I'm just gonna throw her name out and she'd be fine if she was, like Cynthia Zumba will constantly ask me questions. She'll beep in on Facebook.
And I love
send
that we
me an
get
email.
questions.
But she'll say, so who's in charge of that? And who decided to do that? And who's gonna be in charge of what they're gonna do? Are they gonna build fountains over at the
Yeah.
social district? You know, everybody's so afraid we're gonna turn into Charleroi. You know, and just like I'm back on, everybody was so afraid when we refreshed the lounge at the pier that we were gonna do more than what we did. I mean, everybody that walked in, you know, so we do have this group of people that wants zero change. And I think,
We're always
Yeah,
gonna
that
have-
in every
I-
community.
Every community,
I
exactly.
think at the moment, 4/5 of the council is pretty much like that.
I think
that's
pretty
a-
much, yeah.
And that's a problem.
There's always somebody in the event of those 4 one-person will shift.
I would disagree with that, but I would say that was also not over. The other idea I had is, could we have like a little article in the Harbor Light about our accomplishments?
Well,
Or have we done it recently?
I don't know if they'll publish it, but we can certainly attempt it.
Well, Kate Bassett did you guys remember the front page?
With a diagram.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you remember that, Nikki?
Actually, it might be time for a refresher of, there was an article about who does what in this. It was a great article. Again, what I just said, it showed the diversity of the players.
We could also have, I mean, if the Brew Fest does happen in October, and we were just talking about October, it might be a good time to
Perfect
maybe
timing.
have a booth set up within there. There's a ton of people that come in. You could have a booth that's, you know, get to know the DDA, have it manned by board members, and board members show up to volunteer and to talk to, you know, historically, you know, sometimes having,
It's a good idea.
we tried to do that during the first Ice Fest. We were gonna do it at the pier. We had a little bit of trouble. I think Jody ended up manning that one all day. So if we could set up a booth, I mean, it'd be a way we could go over, we could have a packet to hand out about what we've accomplished thus far, what we're planning on doing with the Ice Fest, have pictures of the tree planting, and then anything else we do throughout the summer, instead of having just an informational meeting, but we could have, you know, 5 to 1,000 people show up for that.
I think if we did a really snappy article for the newspaper, we could submit to both newspapers who wants to print that, but with some pictures of some of the fun stuff going on, like the flower planting by the Honor Society, and the cat on that side of the park. And, you know, some of the cool things that are happening.
Good. Great stuff. We're lucky.
So back to what you would send us if we had, not to put more work on you, Margot, but if we could have almost a brochure, like just an open up, you know, DDA on the front with maybe some pictures, and then the inside, what do we do and what have we been up to? And the back.
Hand it out or would it be emailed?
I would make that largely email it. make
I
it a-
would, yeah, I would think that would be a good email, but that is also something that, you know, we could always all have a few in our pocket for that person that says, what do you guys do on the DDA that you sit on, you know?
Just spend our money.
Or we have that at the Brew Fest or the Ice Fest. So it's an informational booth with a brochure. They could walk away and look, see what we're doing.
We can compile that pretty quickly from the report Margo just did, particularly as it relates, I think, to where our money comes from and how we must spend it with our plan. Those are the two biggest questions.
Another way to get them to actually look at what we've done, we could send out some information as an e-bite. So we would be e-biting them to learn about what the DDA's done, so they would see an e-bite, so they would click it and open it. It might be a party, but it's really just information.
That's a good idea.
But we could have a quote unquote happy hour party in November,
Yeah, we could.
and I'll put out food and Margot talks. Yeah, we have a, and we have a nice slide presentation of all you know,
Hey, guys, I gotta jump off. I'll jump right back on after my call.
Okay. Nick, I've had one question come up to me in the last couple of weeks, quite oddly. Some confusion between the central business district as a district and the CBD as a zoning category. Are those terms both identical?
I do not believe so, no. I think the central business district is just a part of the DDA.
Okay, so there's not a zoning
I-
category called C.
That's kind of Jeff's.
Okay.
house, But no, I don't believe so.
Okay,
And Jeff and I had a long conversation about this.
For you, I'm sure you did.
Recently, about not to really being strict when we're talking about the DDA, about saying the DDA, boundaries and the PSC boundaries, because they are not the DDA. And so we're talking about what we want to do. We are the DDA PSC, which is either the CBD is either a part of that or we're a part of the CBD. And I remember.
Okay.
It's a lot of alphabet.
it is.
Yeah. It is.
Okay, let's keep moving. We are summer activities.
Summer activities, summer that, from what I hear, I was not there, Memorial Day parade was
Wow.
very, very busy. Business.
It's fantastic.
So Bonnie was not able to be here, so she did send over, just their calendar of events that were coming up. The gallery walk is June 29th. The blessing of the fleet is July 1st. So these are all of the activities that we have coming. So it's going to be a lot of music, a lot of different events. Now that things are opening up, it looks like we're going to be pretty busy downtown Harbor Springs.
I'm not sure I did feel that on Monday.
Yeah, I can definitely, and that's from the chamber, that's on their website. But, so as we talked about in the promotions committee meeting last night in the board, that we're really going to just focus on how we can help promote and assist some of the things that are happening. Obviously, we don't need to see anything more for the summer, there's plenty.
Yes.
But, that is what we have going on.
Okay.
Brings us to the question, and Fourth of July, of course. I think, Nick, we get a decision this,
They have to make a decision this time.
okay,
We're getting too close to the wire now.
right. We,
What you said.
Yes.
I
I
don't
know
know.
that
I really don't know. I think that if we get one council member to give the nod, to let's go ahead, then it'll happen. But I think everybody's a little nervous to make that first judgment call.
they could limit it. I mean, I hate to say that I watch it from my little balcony outside the office. And
If the crowds, you can't limit.
I don't think they can limit the crowds. There's no way. And I think
no,
that's-
not the crowds.
I don't
But I
think it
think, but I
matters.
think that's what
I don't
the
think
city,
it's the crowds,
it's the crowds that they're concerned about.
not the entries.
They're not the entries, it's the amount of people for the first.
Well, it sounds like, from what I hear, all the restrictions are going to be lifted. by
That's what I want.
law.
Yeah,
So
which makes
that
it,
will make a difference in how they
Yeah.
look at the break.
We'll find out on Monday.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then the only other thing to really discuss on the promotion committee is, I know we talked about this last board meeting, we talked, and deciding whether we are going to really dive into a fall fest, a roof fest, a fall fest, this year. We need to make,
the committee says yes. What does the committee say?
the committee is split,
Oh,
I remember, as far as like to, and I think the DDA board is. And
I think my feeling is I will go along with what the committee wants.
We go into what else is going on. Oh, chamberless.
Well, hold on, let's,
Nothing. That we can,
Just, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got
To see what else is going on.
we've got the Taste of Harbor on September 18th. That's the book, 24th through 26th, and then,
just the skeletons all over town.
pretty much in October. I guess my question is, I know everybody's extremely busy in the summer, and my only question is whether everybody will be able to help put it together by October this year. I'm happy to do it, but I know I can't do it on my own. So I guess I look at the rest of the board as what's actually feasible.
Well, as far as getting everything together, we had discussed that at the last meeting. I mean, there's really, aside from doing some legality stuff, turning in our sponsorship to the Petoskey Visitors Bureau, which I already have the letter that I sent in 2018. I still have that. Making sure that we get with the city to get the insurance. And then literally just kind of getting the wineries and cideries back on board. Taylor Rental to secure the tent and the chairs, and then the Porta Johns to secure that. So there's really not, just like Ice Fest, there's not a lot of like big planning where we all have to come together until, like September is when things will really get rolling. I mean, like we had talked briefly at the last Ed meeting, there's some of the like legal part of it that from like you to the city that, Rachel did back in 2018 when we did it, that I didn't do, but everything else, like dealing with like sponsors and it's sending out emails and all of that stuff is already done. It was done when I got it from Caitlin Donnelly, who put it on with the chamber, and then we revised it for 2018 to have all of the sponsorship letters, to have all of the vendor contracts, the music contracts, and we have all of that. We literally just need to change the date and the time. So all of that stuff that the beginning stages, since this isn't a complete redo now, as far as making it a family event, that would be where you might have to get on the phone with the Michigan Liquor Control Commission and the city to see where the rules fall with having something that's a 21 and up and having something that is under 21. I know with the Michigan Liquor Control Commission, there was a reason we didn't do that because it was a huge liability on the city's part. But aside from, I mean, even if it was, I found the actual budget from 2018, what we estimated, what we put into the city, and then what we actually, what we made, and we made $5,540. So, and that was the first year we had taken it over from the chamber. We had a taco competition within which was great. So,
But can people, I know you can't sponsor, like, but can say you're bring food in?
well, yeah, they
Like
took-
a taco person.
they were part of it.
Okay,
We
They actually
won
won.
the taco competition.
okay.
It was fun.
Yeah, we had all of the restaurants, and then they paid to be a part of it.
Okay.
So because it's June and we've not yet decided, we're not on this list. So the time is now to make.
Yeah,
decisions.
I mean, if we're gonna do, like, I'm planning on spending Sunday, like revising all of that, so tell me now if I'm gonna spend my time doing that.
And that's what I think.
Or-
we need to make a
because I have to revise all the paperwork and get that to you, Margot, so you can get that to the Petoskey Area Visitors Bureau and everything.
I'm all for it.
The only problem with me is meeting dates and time.
We don't have to meet until September. There won't be like weekly meetings, because really the work will be between Margot and I and her getting what needs to be sent to the city and to
So-
the
Yeah,
visitors.
I
Bureau.
just can't, I have no bandwidth.
No, you can't.
Do we need council approval for
No.
this?
We will-
Well,
But- And the reason I asked that
we
is,
will a little bit if we don't, so we had to the last time because we didn't have, Nick had to cut me a check to be able to pay the breweries ahead of time.
sure,
So, and then we didn't have the money at that time in 2018 to basically hold the event ourselves. So I did have, Rachel and I went to the city to ask them if they would front us the money to be able to start it.
We won't need to do that this time. If I remember, the upfront cost was under 8,000.
Yeah, we can do that.
The upfront cost for the alcohol, which is the first upfront cost, the actual was 45.31.
Yeah.
Now, it was a little bit different, and I can get into that with you, because we had just one major brewery. I worked with just Griffin or Perrin. Yeah, my brother-in-law worked strictly with Perrin, so we worked with just that distributor and brought in. So if we want to do bigger, obviously that cost is gonna be a little bit more. So I think we should probably shoot for, if we put in the estimate, what I was gonna put in there is 8 to 10, so we could be lower.
We do need to at least fill out the application for use of city property like all other events have been doing and get that in.
so the reason I asked that is, and I'm all for this,
Yeah.
I think, and I think the mood of the community is there for this, but if we've got a council that's hesitant to approve the 4th of July parade, are we gonna get some kind of pushback with doing a public event?
Well, they've approved a lot of other things.
Well, I see. that.
Everything else up
I'm
there has been
just playing
approved.
devil's advocate.
I know.
And I don't
We'll find out.
necessarily think it's a bad idea to go in front of council, to
Yeah.
let them know, we've
Yeah.
done it with every other event, to let them know that we've done what we've been doing.
Can we do that for Monday?
I cannot. I'm in Florida next week, so I can't.
I think even if you just send a request or something to Victor, that we can put it in front of council without maybe we even have to be here.
Okay,
I mean, if we need to, I'm just like to play devil's
and I
advocate.
think it's a good point.
And
Can
I
we at
can
least,
look at my schedule, and I can, the second weekend in October.
yeah, we're holding at the same time. When Tim gets back on, or maybe later, can we just see if Tim could at least be on the call on Monday night if, for any questions? I think,
Well, and if he.
yeah, okay.
I mean, and I can, let me look at my schedule and I can see what time I'm working until on Monday, but I may be able to zip down here.
The one
Yes, it
meeting
is.
a year where school board and council
Ah.
are meeting that day.
So let's keep moving here because we've got a full agenda still. I think we're all in.
Yeah.
Let's
Okay,
just
great.
see what council says and which I'm sure will be fine, given the rest of this. And let's keep moving.
Regular.
Thank you, committee, for your efforts on this. So next up would be downtown enhancement, Merchants Walkway.
Yes, so I have met with Tim Maxwell from Maxwell Paving and also have spoken with John Cup. Neither have gotten me a quote yet, but Tim and I went down there and I looked at it. Obviously, the brickwork, as you saw in the picture, is maybe more than we thought it was gonna be, so he was trying to figure out a quote. Actually, when we were there, Jeff Gordon happened to be down there, and he gave an interesting idea about what about possibly going back. Let me show you the picture from when we did it. You can see here the walkway is concrete and with brick around it. He actually made the suggestion, what about removing the brick around the fountain surround and putting in, concrete.
Yes.
And lining with brick, and that might be, more cost effective.
I agree.
Or just stamped concrete.
Yeah.
You could do- I mean, they can do a beautiful stamped concrete.
Yeah.
So when we start getting quotes back, we'll talk about that. Obviously, ripping out the brick compared to just repairing brick may be more expensive, but it also may not, given how much brickwork there, once Tim looked at it, Maxwell looked at it and said, wow, this is a little bit more.
Okay,
I spent some time down there too, and I sent you some pictures. I don't know if you want to do that today, but yes, that brick cannot be repaired. It's half brick to start with, so where it's damaged, that's beyond
gone,
that.
yeah.
And so this is not a good long game to try and fix that. I think what would be nice is all of the feeders into that central plaza area be fixed up to be the concrete with the brick. I still would vote for maybe doing that central plaza area as brick. Another thing too, I had a chance to talk to people who were out, shop owners there, and I'd like to discuss taking that fountain out of there. It just takes up so much space in a very small area. We also could do, like a smaller version of it, but it just dominates. There's no room for, tables or anything like that. It's a maintenance thing. I also wanted to say that there is a group of people downtown, shop owners, being headed up by her name Beth from CDAX. Wants to come to the city about doing something to fix up the walkway. So I don't know if
She's
people-
already sent us email,
Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
good. So why don't we do this? Let's put this back in the Downtown Enhancement Committee's ballpark, which is what we should be doing. And if you just holler, Margot, when you get some bids back, let's come back together and see what the next steps are. Okay?
Yep.
Moving on, Directors of Report, Main Street Tree Gardens.
Just a couple things. Thank you all for working on the volunteering and the Main Street Tree Gardens and Dan for overseeing that day.
It was fun.
Looked like it was fun, didn't get totally rained out.
No.
And I think people are already very happy with what they're seeing.
Yeah.
If we haven't, and I would be happy to do it, we should send a thank you note to the National Honor Society, to the one here at school.
Yeah.
They were delightful.
Yeah.
They were very
Yeah.
polite, helpful.
Organized, natural leaders in that group. It was great fun.
The one thing to note there, probably for you, Nana, as you maybe know more about trees, obviously, is that the roots of those trees are, I mean, they're spreading to the edges.
Which is
of-
why we tried to do a tree project.
Yeah.
It's not something we don't know.
Not too many years from now, it's gonna be raising
Yeah.
the cement.
Oh, they're gonna have to be yanked out.
Yeah.
and replaced.
Yeah.
You just have to do that when you put a tree
We
in
have
concrete.
this plan. I don't know if you've seen it.
There was a tree grade
All
project, I think.
37 trees.
Yes, well,
It's hard to plant flowers.
okay. Let's move on to Marina Park.
Marina Park is, I don't know if you guys have been down there and seen that the enhancements are beginning and
Yes,
the landscaping looks great.
fantastic.
The games have been ordered, the table fences and umbrellas have been ordered, we've got a couple concerts to be back. So one of them was a little surprise, I think, to us that didn't go through. So it is a reminder. I think it was one time that was at the Presbyterian Church. But
Yeah, I went to that one. It was nice. So you can say get there.
it's not good for the council, like there's an application for anything, and I make sure that I didn't see it, and Bonnie didn't see it, and she texted me about it. Victor didn't see it, so, I mean, there's a thing to remember. So,
We could have 3 or 4 groups show up the same night, not knowing that there's a process.
but it's really great, and then now I think, city staff is gonna work on some of the details, like getting food carts and that stuff in there. Maybe again in a couple weeks, but it's starting to take shape, so it looks really good. I gave each of you a downtown, community profile that I put together, completed and, ready to go into any city or documents, things like that, that when people come in and are looking for merchant license or anything like that, have something to offer, and we can get that out to other people too as well.
Good job.
take a look at it. I think it's, good information. All the kiosks have been updated. They're, even the one that was not installed, they went up to DPW and got that recovered. And
the repair on the bases?
yeah, I talked about it, and he's not seen, he and I are, he said he'd look at them, but he does not think of them as an item that needed to be, that was added to the punch list. I know Nick and I talked about it a little bit, but Victor was on, and we don't have any sort of documented punch list of that there was.
There was a punch list. If they got lost in the transition, we're just screwed.
I would say yes.
We were not supposed to pay them the last half of the payment until they got fixed, and somehow that slipped. And the city paid them, and then we could no longer get simplicity to complete. If we don't have any verification of that, that's our fault. So we at least need to go to those bases and plant something around them or do something in those incredibly ugly spots.
Where the
That's
concrete's taken
very
out.
disappointing.
Yeah, there's gotta be a way to dress up that concrete.
Yeah.
Somehow.
There's not a lot of them, but for example, the one in front of the chamber is really bad, and that was supposed to have been repaired. And the fact that they're saying that they have no communication, have we reached out to Rachel on this?
I have not.
This was a sore point for her. I would at least get that list from her. She has to have those communications with Kevin, because she was furious with them when they would not come back after we paid them. But if we don't, we don't. That happens. Things get lost. Okay, let's,
Not in every sector, he has no recollection of that.
of course. It's crazy. I went back through, anyone could just do a search of your emails. I looked through mine and I couldn't find it. I know both Cindy and Rachel had documents on that. Okay, so next up will be our July meeting, which we're off because of the holiday. So that means we'll be back again in August. All right.
And that one is going to be at 7:30. That what you said? You're going early for that one. So we might come down.
I think that was the only one we were going to have at 8 in the entire year, because
I thought we were going to do.
Hang on.
Eight's perfect.
I thought we were doing it.
I did not say that.
That was the one. That was the one.
AM.
Yeah.
Oh, I have 8:30.
Well, but we had. To be honest, we should be consistent. Let's keep it at 8:30.
Well, I think we were doing that one early because of the summer schedule for business.
If that's, let's just get with Josh and see what works for him.
And
Use
Nikki,
it.
what,
And Nikki.
I know you're.
I'm open for 7:30, but whatever.
I mean, I
I
can do
can-
7:30, that's fine.
I
I
can
usually
do
start
it.
work at 7, so.
So 7:30 or 8, not gonna be that much difference?
No. Yeah, consistency kind of concerns me, but we have no public here anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
We never do. We could show up at 3 in the morning. Nobody'd ever.
Well,
know.
yeah, just to answer that question.
Free beer.
I mean, it was. It was
Well,
Well, I don't know.
how about free coffee? You're gonna 7:30 in the morning.
posted.
Free mimosas.
I have it at 7:30, but
That's great.
Let's get it over with. Get on with
7:30, let's do it.
Let's do it, okay? And moving into any other business, old business,
So
7:30.
7:30.
7:30 on August 5th.
Actually, oh,
Hey, Margot, you're gonna email those times out?
might not be there.
Yes,
yeah, did you
Thank you.
just jump in on? Or have you been here to hear that July? We have no meeting in July.
Do you have no meetings in July? Is that what you said?
We
It's hard to
don't
hear.
we don't have a regular meeting in July.
Okay, I'm good with that.
okay, public comment? If not, we are adjourning on the dot.
Okay.
All right, thank you, everyone. Good summer, see you either in meetings or in August.
Thank you.
Do we want to,
because they wouldn't.
As soon as we get the bids back.